والسلام على سيدنا رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا، وأنت إن شئت تجعل الحزن سهلا. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من أن نشرك بك شيئا نعلمه ونستغفرك لما لا نعلمه. ثم أما بعد. For the scholars in the back who don't need to listen to any new knowledge, please keep it quiet. Today, inshallah, I'm planning to talk about someone that I was kind of really hesitant to talk about. But we need to know about him because we hear his name so much, and he is very influential until today. The person or the scholar that we'll be talking about today is Ibn Taymiyyah. Huh? Well, Shaykh al-Islam, there are so many Shuyukh al-Islam. And he is known as Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, like Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, Shaykh al-Islam Zakaria al-Ansari, Shaykh al-Islam Sufyan al-Thawri. So Shaykh al-Islam is not like a academic degree, like professorship, for example, here. To be a professor, you have to be associate professor first, and get PhD, and then become a professor. Assistant professor, associate professor, then associate assistant, and then professor. But this is not. It is given to him by his students. So that's why it is very unacceptable when you write academic thesis and say Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah said so and so. You cannot say that. Shaykh Ibn Taymiyyah said, because Shaykh al-Islam, that's subjective. Who called him Shaykh al-Islam and so on. Ibn Taymiyyah is a very controversial person and very smart person. He is a man of knowledge. If you talk about knowledge, this is the man who came in the end of the 7th century and the beginning of the 8th century. Now I'm jumping now about 5 centuries. We talk about Imam Sufyan al-Thawri and Hassan al-Basri, Ibn Jarir al-Tabari. Now we're talking about we jump like for 5-6 centuries to talk about someone, and again, because he's very influential still, and very controversial still. He loved by so many people, and many actually consider him almost, they don't call him a prophet, but whatever he says is, what Ibn Taymiyyah says is the right thing. You know, you talk about Quran and Sunnah, and what Ibn Taymiyyah said, khalas, Ibn Taymiyyah. For some, and for others, he's a munafiq. Like Imam Ibn Hajar al-Haythami, when he wrote about him, and he called him munafiq, and many ulama, actually he was in prison because of his controversial fatwas. Some of them are very good, some of them are very controversial. But this is a man whose father is Ibn Taymiyyah, and his grandfather is Ibn Taymiyyah. That's why in the books of fiqh, they call Ibn Taymiyyah al-Ab, the father, or Ibn Taymiyyah al-Jad, the grandfather, or just Ibn Taymiyyah. When Ibn Taymiyyah said, this is the third one that we're talking about now. Super intelligent man, super intelligent, not just intelligent, super intelligent, with a very, very sharp mind. Never got married. His entire life was just writing. He was writing day and night. And he wrote in all areas of ulum. He wrote in fiqh, hadith, tafsir, Arabic language, and he wrote against many people. That's why many people attacked him. He wrote against Sufis, or the extreme Sufis. He wrote against Shias. Shias hate Ibn Taymiyyah very much. Just mention the word Ibn Taymiyyah, it's as if like this shaitan, yeah. You mention the name of shaitan. It was very tough on them. And he was tough against al-Ismailiyah, al-Batiniyah. And of course he was born after 7 years. When he was 7 years old, his family has to leave Harran. He was born in Harran. That's why they call it al-Harrani. Ibn Taymiyyah, Ahmad ibn Abdul Halim, Ibn Taymiyyah al-Harrani, from Harran. Harran is a place in the north of Syria and south of Turkey. Now, actually, is part of Turkey. south of Turkey, at the borders of Turkey and Syria. They moved to Damascus because the Tatars came to attack, although many of them actually converted to Islam, and in fact, as we'll see, the Amir of the Tatarian army was a Muslim, and he claimed he's a Muslim and has mufti and shuyukh and mu'adhdhinin, but was very corrupt, obviously. So he actually came in this time when so many firqas and sects and strange ideas came. So he actually was very, with today's language, very rough, very rigid, and he does not remain silent, even though every time he opened his mouth, he got in prison. I've been in prison like 5, 6 times, and eventually he died in the prison in Damascus. But he was in prison in Cairo, and in Alexandria, and in Damascus. Many times, not 1 or 2 or 3, many, many times. He's in and out. But he said, I'm not going to remain silent. I have to say the truth from his perspective. Ibn Taymiyyah is very influential now in the Wahhabi movement. You know what Wahhabi movement? Have you heard about Wahhabism?
Yeah.
Wahhabism? What's Wahhabism?
There's the strict guidelines followed by the Saudi government and...
Yeah, but what the word Wahhabism come from?
Abdul Wahhab.
Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab. In the 18th century, Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab was quote-unquote reformist, and he said we have to go back to the pure understanding of the Salaf. That's what they call them, Salafis. Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab. So the movement of Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab actually was going literally by the saying of Ibn Taymiyyah. So that's why the Salafis, they love, to them Ibn Taymiyyah is the man. And of course from this Salafism came so many other groups like Jihadi Salafis or Salafist Jihadists like Zarqawi and Qaeda and all these things, and they all quote Ibn Taymiyyah. They all quote him. He was also very influential in Egypt. The Salafi movement that Ibn Taymiyyah started also was influential. Muhammad Rashid Rida is one of the very famous Muslim scholars, and Muhammad Abdu and his student Muhammad Rashid Rida. And in Morocco also, Jam'iyyat al-Ulama in Algeria, Muhammad bin Badis, and also in Allal al-Fasi, and in subcontinent, the Dahlawi family, also very much influenced by the fatwa of Ibn Taymiyyah, Waliullah Dahlawi and Abdul Aziz Dahlawi, and so on. Also Siddiq Hassan Khan and Abdul Rahman and Mubarak Furi, Abu Kalam Azad, they're all influenced by I'm not saying they agree with everything Ibn Taymiyyah said, but they have been influenced by the legacy of Ibn Taymiyyah. So Ibn Taymiyyah, you can say, he's a founder of a madhab, although he himself is Hanbali. Ibn Taymiyyah is Hanbali, and his father was a Hanbali scholar teaching the Hanbali madhab. And then when he died, his son Ibn Taymiyyah, when he was 21 years old, he took the chair of his father, who was teaching the Hanbali madhab. So he's expert of Hanbali madhab, but he disagreed with the madhab in so many things. He expanded the madhab. He's Hanbali, but he disagreed even with all the Hanbali scholars. Not only with the Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal's opinions, but with the Hanbali scholars. He was born in Haran, and then they moved to Dimashq, and his father was teaching in the Umayyad Masjid al-Umayyad, the biggest masjid in Syria. When he was 21, he started writing books, and he was writing every day. Like every day, they said like 4 kararis. Kararis means the book notes. 4 of them, he filled it. He wrote one book between Dhuhr and Asr, one of the books that we read today, Al-Fatawa Al-Hamawiyya, between Dhuhr and Asr. His pen was so fast. If you just Google Al-Fatawa ibn Taymiyyah, Majmu' Fatawa ibn Taymiyyah. So his legacy is more than 80 volumes. And when did he write all these things? despite the fact that he was participate in jihad and he was between Cairo and Damascus. We don't know how did he do that. We don't know how he did that. He listened to many scholars, and 200 of them. His father and grandfather obviously were among his teachers. He has lectures of tafsir and lectures of fiqh, lectures of usul al-fiqh, lectures of history, lectures of language, responding to philosophers. See, he was a man that he cannot stop writing and reading and teaching. The only time we stopped this when he was in the prison and they actually don't allow him. They took all the pens and papers from him. He's not even allowed to write. One of his famous students, Ibn al-Qayyim, Imam Ibn al-Qayyim al-Jawziyyah, the one who wrote he wrote many books. The famous ones are Kitab al-Fawaid and Kitab I'lam al-Waqi'in an Rabb al-Alamin, and many other books. So Ibn al-Qayyim was in prison with his teacher, Ibn Taymiyyah. And he said that one day I prayed Fajr with him, and he used to pray Fajr and stay until almost midday. Almost. And then he looked at his student and said, this is my lunch. And I cannot, without this lunch, I cannot have any energy to write or read or anything. So these are his food for his spirit is this dhikr from Fajr until almost midday. Making dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He, when this Tatarian army came, he went to the leader with a bunch of muftis and ulama to talk to him, because this guy claimed he's Muslim. But this is Ibn Taymiyyah, and that's why he's kind of controversial. He went to him and said, you claim you're Muslim, you have mu'adhineen, you have mufti, and you have shuyukh with you, and you made all this corruption. Your grandfather or grandfathers were not Muslims. Wulako and Genghis Khan were not Muslims and did not do the corruption you did. And the other muftis were just would be in trouble. They would try to just go and tell him not to allow his soldiers to go and cause corruption and take the money of people and stuff like this. And then this Amir told him, okay, why don't you just make dua for us? His name is Ghazan. So Ghazan told him at the end of the meeting, go just make dua. He said, okay, I will make dua. All other ulama and muftis were just kind of scared. This guy can put them in trouble. He said, Ya Allah, if you know your servant Ghazan is coming to serve Islam and to establish justice and peace, support him and help him. But if you know he came here to take the money of the people and to cause corruption, Ya Allah, destroy him. Ya Allah, take him and destroy him and his army. And keep making a lot of dua against him if he is coming to cause corruption. And when they finally came out, these muftis, and they told him, you know what, we'll never come with you. We'll go with you anywhere else. He said, I'm not interested in going with you as well. So he was kind of very straightforward, tough, hard line. And again, this explains why hardliners in Islam today, they quote Ibn Taymiyyah. Something similar to what happened in Pakistan, you know the blasphemy law, and this lady, Christian lady, who said something about the Prophet, or some claim that she insulted the Prophet, and all this big fuss happened in Pakistan, and the guy was killed because he said that she should go free, the governor of Punjab, and his guard killed him because he's supporting this lady. And all this Labbaika Rasulullah movement and all this. This actually happened in the time of Ibn Taymiyyah when someone with the name Asaf al-Ansari. Again, it was said that he insulted the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ibn Taymiyyah actually took the lead and he said that this person must be punished. And he wrote a book actually, and the name of the book is As-Sarim al-Maslul. This sword, As-Sarim al-Maslul, ala Shatim al-Rasul. the sharp sword on those who insult the Prophet. It's a book, it's printed, it's available. And people came, gathered, and there's a big chaos. And the governor of that city at that time actually ordered Ibn Taymiyyah to be punished, to be beaten, because he caused all this mess. And that's why he's a very controversial person. No one wrote books than Ibn Taymiyyah. He wrote so many books in everything. And Majmu' al-Fatawa alone is very popular. Majmu' al-Fatawa Ibn Taymiyyah. You know, maybe all these shelves will not be enough to carry Majmu' al-Fatawa Ibn Taymiyyah. No, not taken. He went to the Egyptian Sultan, Nasser Qalawun, and to invite him and to encourage him to come, because the Mamluks were ruling Egypt and Damascus at that time. So he came to the Sultan, inviting him to come and fight. And the Sultan liked him, and he came, and they were victorious, and Tatars did not proceed in coming to Damascus. He debated so many groups, as I mentioned, Sufis, and he was controversial because of some of his fatwa that many actually scholars at that time did not like it. For example, one of his fatwas that was very controversial still is that he said that you should not, Rasulullah said, I'll just explain to you, Rasulullah said, لا تشد الرحال إلا لثلاث مساجد. You cannot make a journey with the intention of visiting except 3 mosques. Masjid al-Haram, Masjid al-Aqsa, and the Masjid al-Nabawi. And he made very strange fatwa. I personally cannot understand it. He said, the niyyah when you go to Medina, not to visit the Prophet, but to visit the masjid. He was very literalist in this fatwa. So, and many people realize that's very impolite. Well, what do you mean? And yeah, we go to visit the grave of the Prophet and say salam to the Prophet. Yeah, that's our intention. He said, no, that's haram to do that. Your intention must be visiting only the masjid. Because the Prophet said that you are not going to visit the grave. And when I heard it, I said, we go to Medina to visit graves. The Medina is all about graves. We visit the graves of the Shuhada, we visit the grave of the Prophet Abu Bakr and Umar, and we visit the graves of the Baqiyah. Right? That's what we do. And those who can go to Badr, you go to Badr also and visit the graves of the Shuhada there. He said, no, you should not get the intention to go to visit the Prophet. No, the niyyah is to visit the masjid. And many scholars were very upset with him. Some other prophets were upset with him because he was speaking kind of negatively about Ali. I don't know why, what was between him and Ali in particular. And that's why Imam Hajar al-Haythami said he's munafiq, because hadith is like Muslim. Rasulullah said, لا يحبه Ali. Nobody loves him except true believers. And nobody hates Ali except a munafiq. Anybody hates Ali ibn Abi Talib, take this as general statement. Anybody hates Ali ibn Abi Talib is a munafiq. Right? So he talked about Ali in a way that he loves riasa. He sought to be the caliph in the time of Abu Bakr and Umar, and he was not given this. It's very inappropriate to say that. And he said Ali, he went against Al-Quran in 17 places, clear Quranic. I mean, who are you to talk about Ali like this? Yes, great scholar and things, but you think Ali ibn Abi Talib did not understand the Quran and you understood it? That also made many scholars don't like him, and as a result he was in prison for a number of times. Another important, I don't want to get into this, but Al-Arsh. Does Allah stay on the Arsh? And according to some that yes, he says Allah stays like I stay now on the chair. He said that. And that's very controversial. This was even against the Hanbali scholars, and many actually said that his aqidah has some issues. But he has also have some good fatwas. The fact that he, of course, he's mujtahid, no doubt. He has the ijtihad, the malak of ijtihad. He reached the level of ijtihad. But one of the fatwas that actually was very controversial back then, but now it is very popular, all Muslims follow it, except the scholars in India, that the 3 talaq counts as one. And of course, this goes against the four madhab, Maliki, Shafi'i, and Hanafi, and Hanbali, his own madhab, Hanbali. And why is that? And many scholars today actually they consider Ibn Taymiyyah to be right on this. And all Muslim family courts in the Muslim world, they follow Ibn Taymiyyah's opinion, not the Hanafi or Maliki or Shafi'i. Why is that? Because he said, in the Quran says talaq twice, and the third time is the final one. طلاق مرتان فإمساك بمعروف أو تسريح بإحسان. So Allah gave the people the time to reconsider, to come back together. After divorce, they can come back together. Second divorce, they can come back together. And after the third one, they cannot come back. You know the hukm. It was in the time of Umar radiallahu anhu, who want to punish people who are just playing with talaq, and instead of making one talaq, they said you are divorced. He said, why? Allah is giving you the rukhsah so that you can rethink about it, and you are not using it. You are throwing it all away. If you make it 3 times, I will count it at 3 times upon you. That was the ijtihad of Umar, and some consider this to be consensus, since none of the Sahaba openly rejected or disagreed with Umar, then it became like a consensus, ijma'. And this became the ijma', and this became the ruling for centuries, until Ibn Taymiyyah came. He had the courage to say, no. Let's go back to the original fatwa at the time of the Prophet, at the time of Abu Bakr, and before Umar. Why is that? Because the muhallil idea came up. So a man would divorce his wife 3 times. Now, the only way to get his wife back is that she marries someone else. So he goes to one of his friends, so can you please marry my wife? Or, seriously, it's called muhallil. And he goes, they make the nikah, only the nikah, you cannot touch her. Right? And then he divorced her, then the original husband goes and bring her back. Although the Prophet ﷺ said, no, until they enjoy each other, حتى يذوق عسيلتها وتذوق عسيلته. Now, nikah on paper, this does not count. But people do this. So Ibn Taymiyyah said that for keeping the family together and to end this business of muhallil, let's go back to the original fatwa. And that time, that was against the ijma'. You are going against the ijma' of all madhahib. Put him in prison. He spent some other months in prison. But again, today all Muslims, Muslim world, the 3 divorce, it counts as one. He was a very strong person, very strong personality. When this Egyptian Sultan, Mamluk, Nasir Qalawun died, his son came after him, and he did not like Ibn Taymiyyah. So they moved him from Cairo to Alexandria. Why Alexandria? Because a lot of Sufis are there, extreme Sufis in Alexandria. So he put him in the wrong place where he can get some troubles. But he was against Ibn Arabi and against Aqid al-Ittihad wal-Hulul, and he kept writing, and they told him, listen, you either stop making any fatwas or writing anything, or go back to Damascus, or you're going to be in prison. He said, I'll go in prison. And he chose the prison. It was until his students begged him to go out and to go back to Damascus. And he went back to Damascus, and again, for another fatwa, he was in prison there in Al-Qal'a, and he died there. He spent the last 3 years of his life in prison, and he died there. And they used to say that those who were in prison with him, they said that when things get really tough, when we hear bad news about what will happen to us, and we feel very tired, we go to him and sit and listen to him, then khalas, we feel comfortable. He has this very famous statement when he said, ماذا يفعل عذابي? What could my enemy do to me? If they put me in prison, that's i'tikaf. Right? Wallah, he said that. That's i'tikaf. I'll make i'tikaf. If they expel me, then that's tourism. Send me somewhere else, I'll see new people, live in a different place. If they kill me, I'll be shaheed. So let them, he said that there is Jannah in this dunya. Those who don't enter it, they will not enter the Jannah of Al-Akhirah. And he's talking about the Jannah of Iman. right? And my Jannah, he said, my Jannah is in my heart. Nobody can take it away from me. If they put me in prison, that's i'tikaf. If they expel me, that's siyaha, tourism. If they kill me, I'm shaheed. My Jannah is in my heart. And very, very, very good way to look at our iman. Because our iman, nobody can take it from us. Right? If you have your Jannah, your iman with you, if you have the Quran with you, even you have no access to a printed Quran, it's in your heart. Take it with you. Keep your iman with you. Troubles will happen. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. This attitude is a very positive attitude. Say the truth and keep your Jannah in your heart. Many scholars of Al-Azhar, they actually studied Ibn Taymiyyah. Ibn Taymiyyah is perhaps the most studied scholar. Many PhDs, many master theses have been written about Ibn Taymiyyah. So many. I remember when I was started doing my master degree in Cairo, Egypt, in Islamic philosophy department, I was thinking about writing my thesis on one of the Sufi persons that was not well known. So I said, you know what, I'm going to study him. So I was in the library and I have a bunch of references just to collect as many information about this person as I could. So this guy, like Salafi guy, Saudi student, and he was passing by and he saw all these books, and it's all Sufi books. He said, hey, brother, why you bother with Sufi? He said, what's wrong? He said, no, Sufis, why don't you make your thesis on something useful? I mean, he said, by the way, the only reason why I'm studying this person is because Ibn Taymiyyah praised him. Really? Oh, okay. Ibn Taymiyyah talked positively about this person. He said, okay, what do you think of Taymiyyah? I said, Taymiyyah, who am I to talk about him? Taymiyyah is a great person. He came up with tons of knowledge. But he was, and still, a controversial person. That's why I decided to talk about him. He did not care at all about money. He was not a money person. And money comes to him and he spends it. And gives to his students and poor people, does not keep it with him. But he does not remain silent. He always speaks. Whatever he thinks is wrong, he just writes a book about it. And sometimes he gets in trouble. It's very difficult for this kind of person to take away his pens and books and papers. That's perhaps the most difficult thing. But he turned it into khulwa, the i'tikaf. It's all about reading Quran, making dhikr, making dua. Right? And that's what i'tikaf actually is all about. It's like you and Allah. You have plenty of time with you, with your people, you with your friends, your family, people. You need some time with you and Allah. Alone. You and Allah. Imagine there's no one in this universe except you and Allah. That's the i'tikaf that we need to think about. My friends, we meet each other all the time. Family, we meet each other all the time. We talk at all times. But i'tikaf is about like when you go to the library and stay there for 10 hours because you have deadline coming up, you have to finish this paper, that's i'tikaf. People be chatting and talking, I have deadline, right? The weather is beautiful outside and people are running and no, I have a deadline, I have to finish this. That's i'tikaf. The favorite game is going on, I'm not going to do it because I have something to do. So i'tikaf is about focusing on one thing. Get it done, don't be distracted. That's what i'tikaf means. This is what Ibrahim said to his people. مَا هَذِهِ التَّمَاثِيلُ الَّتِي أَنْتُمْ لَهَا عَاكِفُونَ. What kind of idols that you worship that you are making i'tikaf? You're just serving them, praying to them, sacrificing for them. That's i'tikaf, to focus on one thing, not to be distracted. And yesterday, or this morning, no, before Jummah, I'm sorry, time is confused now. This brother come to me and said, have you heard this fatwa? A Pakistani scholar said that for those who have i'tikaf and they have their cell phone, if they touch their phone, open their phone, use it, their i'tikaf is null and void. I'm not sure about this, but he has a good point. apart from the fatwa, whether your i'tikaf is void or not, I don't know about this. But if i'tikaf is to leave the word, your phone will bring the word to you, right? You have the whole word here in this. So looking at it all the time, what is the point, of having i'tikaf? I'tikaf is to focus on doing one thing. That's what i'tikaf is. And this one thing should be Allah. This one thing should be Allah. Whether reading Quran, making dua, making dhikr, reading books of knowledge, attending something like this, that's focusing on one thing. If you allow distractions to come to you, then I don't know what kind of i'tikaf. That's not i'tikaf. That's perhaps something else. Despite all this animosity, Ibn Taymiyyah says, someone of his students said that I heard him saying that I forgive all those who hurt me and harmed me and talked badly about me. And he is one of his enemies, a qadi. He said, I did not see anybody like Ibn Taymiyyah with his taqwa. He said, and we have done everything to get him in trouble. And when he came out, he had to forgive all of us. So this also takes a lot of courage and a lot of iman and strength to do that. He died in the prison in Damascus in the month of Dhul Qa'dah. He got a fever for days, and for 2 weeks actually, and his brother was in prison with him, and he died in the last third of the night before Fajr. His brother said that my brother and I, do you know how many Khatm al-Quran they did in these 2 years? 80. We did 80 Khatm al-Quran in this time, and the last thing he recited before his death in his word, he was reading, and he died. The last thing he said, last surah they recited, that was Surah Al-Qamar. What is the end of Surah Al-Qamar? إِنَّ الْمُتَّقِينَ فِي جَنَّاتٍ وَنَهَرٍ فِي مَقْعَدِ صِدْقٍ عِنْدَ مَلِيكٍ مُقْتَدِرٍ. That was the last thing he recited before his death. As for his janazah, they counted 200,000 men and 15,000 women. Yes, he was controversial. Yes, he has some opinions that many did not like, still up until now. But overall, he was a genius. He was a great scholar, and and made so much sacrifice. He did not fear anybody. He just said the truth. And as Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal used to say to his opponents, بيننا وبينكم الجنائز. بيننا وبينكم الجنائز. Between us and you is the janazas. How many people came to janazah Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal? There were hundreds of thousands. Hundreds of thousands. Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal was in prison twice, and he had beaten very badly for mas'ala. This is what happened when the government get involved in the religious business. When the Amir or the Khalifa adopts a particular madhab and he wants to force everybody to follow it. This brings a lot of problems. This is what happened in the time of Imam Ahmad. So Imam Ahmad used to say to the other sects, between you and us is the janazah. See how many people attend the janazah? This is a sign. This is the sign. When the janazah is attended by hundreds of people and thousands of people, this is an indication this person was a righteous person. Most of the time. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward him for all his service to Islam, all his knowledge he left behind, and may Allah forgive any shortcomings of Imam Ibn Taymiyyah, Ahmad ibn Abdul Halim Ibn Taymiyyah al-Harrani. I will stop here. If you have any comment or question, take it, inshallah.
Imam Ali, is he the guy that said the zakat
Naam?
Is he the guy that was said the zakat has to be fair?
Who is speaking here? Oh, where? Okay. Zakat al-Fitr because that not Abu Hanifa. Abu Hanifa radiallahu anhu. Abu Hanifa was ahead of his time. this is how smart he was and how intelligent he was. Because the other Imam said that the hadith, okay, so the hadith says the zakat al-fitr should be given from date or wheat or raisin or... So they said, the hadith said that. Right? So we cannot give cash. We have to give from what the Prophet said. That's food, the food of the people at that time. And Abu Hanifa was living in Iraq. And Iraq was different from Hijaz area. It's more advanced, more complex society. And in the time of Abu Hanifa and the place or the context in which Abu Hanifa lived, he said now it's easier for the giver to give money and easier for the receiver. Money was not popular, by the way, in the Hijaz area. People, did not have coins, so much coins. They go to the market. If you want to buy date, you give rice and take date. Or you want to buy clothes, you give a value of food and take clothes. Something like this. Muqayyada, yeah. So this was not the case in Iraq. In Iraq, they have coins. So Imam Abu Hanifa said, yes, you can give the value. Yes, the Prophet said that, but that was the popular food at that time. And that not just the food, that was also money. Food was money. Right? So he said that yes, you can give the value of zakat al-fitr money. So imagine today, if we don't follow Abu Hanifa on this, I agree with you that zakat committee would have like... You have a huge storage place to have rice and date and spaghetti, perhaps. Collect this, and you have to carry this, go to the doors of the poor people. How difficult would it be? So Abu Hanifa actually did not look only at the text, but he looked at the context, and he looked at the objective. Rasulullah said, "Abnuhum an al-mas'ala fi hadha al-yawm." You give the poor money, and they can buy clothes. Maybe they need medicine. You never know, right? Maybe they are in more need to medicine than clothes, than food. Maybe they want to get new clothes for their children. So, or maybe they can buy food. I have seen with my own eyes in Saudi Arabia. I was making Umrah in Ramadan long ago. All right? Because they are Hanbali, they are strict Hanbali. So no, it has to be food. Okay. So you go, you find someone selling package, like almost 2 kilograms of rice or date or wheat, okay? It's a package, so 1 per person. If you have 5 members of your family, you buy 5 of these bags, right? And you go give it to the poor people. So here is the guy who sells them. And sitting next to him are the poor people. So you buy 5 bags, give it to the poor. And the poor will sell it back to the guy. And he sells them and give it to the poor. And I saw this with my own eyes. What kind of understanding is this? No. The Prophet said it has to be food. Cannot give money. Yeah, but okay. Yeah, he said that, the Prophet. You expect the Prophet to tell me, no, you have to go to Byzantium and get coins from there and come and get... There was no money then. Or money, very, very little. There was money, but it was not like popular. And that's easier for the giver, easier for the receiver, and easy for everybody. Easy for the zakat committee. So when I grew up in this kind of, in Egypt, and people, I was part of this. This Imam, old man, very wise, and he's Hanafi. I love him, Sheikh Ali Lela, rahmatullah alayh. Has very good sense of humor. Every time we sit and listen to him, we laugh so much. He makes us laugh. I can tell you some of his jokes. But, and he's very nice man, very humble. And this young man said, why you give the fatwa that we can give money? So I said, yes, you can give money. No, but the hadith, you know better than Abu Hanifa. And he was angry at this young man. So, yes, that was Imam Abu Hanifa, rahmatullah alayhi, not Ibn Taymiyyah. Yes?
Besides Ibn al-Qayyim, did Taymiyyah have other
Many students. Of course, I already said Ibn Baz and Ibn Uthaymeen, and they count also the modern Saudi scholars as his students. And you have many like Imam al-Jawzi and Imam Ibn Daqiq al-Eid and many other Imams. Ibn Taymiyyah, as I said, is a founder of a madhab that is not like a structured madhab. He started a movement, I would say. A way of thinking, a methodology. But unfortunately, many fanatics, they misquote him and they use his fatwas to kill and cut heads and chop hands and do things like this. You need to understand that every scholar is the product of his society, his context. That's why they could be tough sometimes, because they grew up in an environment with a lot of conflicts going on. All right? Any comment or question? سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد ان لا اله الا انت نستغفرك ونتوب اليك والعصر ان الانسان لفي خسر الا الذين امنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر سبحان ربك رب العزه عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.